shoots down at protesters in his own country, who is fixated on college students, as a matter of fact, in his country, now applauding those students on American campuses. Shame on those students, shame on their parents for not teaching them better, and shame on those universities for not getting this under control in the first hour.
As our college campuses light up with anti-Israel madness, Iran's regime is watching very closely. Supreme Leader Ayatollah Khamenei praised the demonstrators on social media recently, saying, quote, "The people of the world are supporting the resistance front because they are resisting and because they are against oppression." Is Iran emboldened by what it's seeing on the streets of America right now? And what's next in its showdown with Israel? Joining us now to break it down is top Middle East expert and editor-in-chief of the Foreign Desk, Lisa Daftari. Lisa, great to have you with us.
Thank you.
And hey, I see the Ayatollah's tweet, and you're following all this very, very closely, of course. How closely are our enemies, America's and Israel's, watching what's happening here, taking notes and seeing weakness?
Absolutely. They're watching very closely, and we know that because if you look at all the crises going on around the world right now, they smell weakness coming from the West. And when something happens against Israel, which is our tentacle in the Middle East, it's an extension of the United States. I want to stop for a moment and remind everyone that when we give aid to Israel, for example, people find that to be critical. Why does the United States give that, aid to Israel? Now we have every right to tell them what to do. We have every right to say who should be in office. That is a strategic partnership. The United States gets as much out of that, if not more, than the Israelis get out of that aid check. So regardless, when we talk about Israel, it should be synonymous with regards to policy. This is not, I'm not defending Zionism, I'm just defending policy. If you care about the United States, if you care about the region, if you care about stability, then you have to understand how important Israel's security and its existence is to the United States. And for that reason, the policy, the rhetoric, the positioning that we take here in the United States absolutely has a ripple effect in the Middle East. And that's why they're watching. Look at Khamenei, who shoots down at protesters in his own country, who is fixated on college students, as a matter of fact, in his country, now applauding those students on American campuses. Shame on those students, shame on their parents for not teaching them better, and shame on those universities for not getting this under control in the first hour.
Lisa, great points. And Israel is the first line of defense for Western civilization. This is a mutually beneficial relationship between the U.S. and Israel. Hey, April 13th, 2024, a few weeks ago, Iran launches this unprecedented assault on Israel, over 300 projectiles. Do you sense that the Iranian regime now is emboldened to perhaps repeat that? God forbid, but now they're pushing the envelope. They're targeting Israel directly from Iranian soil. Right. Was that kind of a watershed moment in all the wrong ways?
In some ways, yes. And in some ways, this was going on, but perhaps now we're all alerted to it. What do I mean by that? This shadow war has been going on for a very long time. We've been sleeping on that. And I mean in the West, for 20 years or more, Iran has doubled down, the Islamic Republic has doubled down on supporting its proxies in the region, in truly having this hegemonic monopoly here in the Middle East, and putting its resources and money into Hezbollah, into the Houthis in Yemen, insurgencies in Syria and in Iraq, Palestinian Islamic Jihad, Hamas. So this ring of fire that now surrounds Israel is there by design, obviously, and they have been shooting into Israel. So they might go back to the shadow war because Iran's regime likes to hide behind this shadow war. They're cowards. At the end of the day, Eric, they're not brave, they're cowards. When they kill women for showing their hair and they hide behind their proxies to fight their enemies in the region, then you know that they're cowards. But they may go back. I mean, regardless, it's not a good situation because they will go back to war and to fighting Israel and to shooting down at Israel. But I don't know if it's going to be from Iran soil.
Yeah, very interesting, Lisa. And even more reason for the U.S. and Israel to be lockstep right now in the face of this shared threat. The Iranian regime is facing a lot of opposition from within. People might not know about that. You've done great work on the Foreign Desk covering these anti-regime protests in Iran. What's the latest? on those protests? Do we see still a groundswell of the Iranian people rising up against the regime?
It's not like what it was during the Masa Amini protests, but it seems like we wrapped up on the 1-year anniversary of Masa Amini, and then we got into October 7th.
Yeah.
And it was very interesting in terms of timing, and then to watch the people in Iran. And I'll say one thing, the Achilles heel of this regime has always been the people, because they know that something much greater than 1979 can happen, and it can topple this regime so easily because of all the disenchantment, because of all the young people who are out on the streets. What we saw in this 1 year of Masa Amini protests had never been seen before. You saw it among all different socioeconomic brackets. You saw it across the country in rural places in the cities. You saw it even in clerical cities where you had never seen it before. But at the same time, the crackdowns have been more brutal and continue to be more than ever. Tumaj, a very famous rapper, has just been sentenced to death. I mean, people are trying to get the word out. Protests across the country here in the United States and Europe as well. So that disenchantment is still there. And I will say this, Eric, most people don't see that the Iranian people have basically have put out this message to Israel, applauding them for that attack on the commanders in Syria.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that the Iranian people have become overnight Zionists or that they're supporting Israel, but in a way they do understand that connection, that historical tie between the Iranian people and the people of Israel. And for that reason, they understand that the Israelis perhaps can be the ones who can topple this regime. When the Iranian people were waiting for Israel to retaliate after the 300 missiles came into Israel, there was that moment where I actually tweeted about this, where there was, a unity among Israelis and Iranians thinking, what will the future of this region look like if we can get rid of radicalism? Because that's what they have in common. They're both trying to defeat the enemy, which is radical Islam.
Wow. Lisa, this is fascinating. The Iranian people standing with Israel. And by the way, before 1979, look, there was a solid relationship
Absolutely.
there between Iran and Israel. Amazing. And, ancient ties. Look, Iran, ancient Persia was a Bible land. Esther and Mordecai, all those great biblical figures in ancient Persia, which is modern day Iran. Hey, your family is from Iran. You're here in the States, obviously, as well. Talk a bit about why this is so personal for you, to see this evil regime with its jackboot on the necks of the Iranian people. They're the biggest victims of this all.
Right.
Why is it so personal for you?
I've never been to Iran. Obviously, I communicate with the people of Iran daily. My family emigrated to the United States for freedom. My father was a 17-year-old study abroad student to New York and ended up staying because of the revolution. So I've always grown up with this cognizance of appreciating America and all the opportunities afforded to myself and my siblings, but also, having this connection with the people of Iran, because I know there's so many people there who are like me, right? They have this Iranian background, but they want to be educated. They want freedoms. They want to do, and live freely. And that has always, obviously informed my work and informed my career, and having those sources has been wonderful. But I think more than anything, it's been really frustrating to see how the world has manipulated, this and allowed and ushered in this radicalism and invite them in, right? You look at so many of the administrations here in the United States that have welcomed political Islam as a benign government, and the Iranian people are suffering for that reason. We know better, right? I think the Iranian people, and I've tweeted this many times, let the women of Iran lead the way. The Iranian people know that they can have a better life. They almost are saying to the world, if you want to know what's going to happen in the West, ask us. We were there first, and we saw it happen in our country. Don't let it happen to yours. And I think that's one of the reasons we're seeing that unity with the Iranian people and other, whether it's moderate Arab states or the Israelis. You saw this in the Abraham Accords, where the Iranian people would be a perfect fit to that. Why? Because they've been witnessing their government put the Iranian people's money into terrorism, give their money to Hezbollah, give their money to Hamas. It's their money that went for the October 7th attacks, and they see it and they're calling it out.
And so are you, Lisa Daftari. Great work at the Foreign Desk and X across social media.
Thank you.
Lisa, keep it up. Thanks so much. Great job.
Thanks for having me.
Stakelbeck Tonight, my all-new nightly series on current events through a bold biblical lens. Make sure you hit the subscribe button so you never miss an upload, and tap the bell icon so you're notified every time a new video is posted. And don't forget to share your thoughts, insights, and comments below. Thanks for watching, and God bless.